Bob, I had a chance to meet Larry Kudlow's big birthday party. And Bob, you're doing something. You're trying to pull off the impossible. Be a Republican and run the state of Connecticut. You're in single digits. You're down to 8-point difference. How do you go the rest of the way?
Yeah, actually, there was another poll came out the other day. It's down to 5 now. And, we've had 40 years of a democratically controlled legislature. We have 8 years of a Democratic governor that has raised taxes, increased regulation, grown big government, and people are ready for a change here. That's why in a traditionally Democratic state, we got a great shot at winning this.
Well, you're going against Ned Lamont. Famously, he won the nomination over Joe Lieberman, but Lieberman went independent and beat him in the general. So you even got it. You're not only going against a Democrat, you're going against a liberal Democrat.
Yeah, I'm actually happy about that because he's come out and said he's going to put up tolls on the highways here, which is just another tax. He's going to raise taxes across the board. He's going to institute a statewide auto tax, and people are tired of it, Brian. They want change. They look at me as the agent of change. I've worked with Laffer and Kudlow on an economic plan for Connecticut to get rid of the state income tax, lower the corporate tax, and get this economy moving again.
Yeah, you have a 5-step plan to rebuild Connecticut. So you just gave us a couple of those ideas, and you think it's going to take how many years to get it done? And what else What else is in your plan?
Well, there's a couple of things we can do immediately. We're the only state with a gift tax and an estate tax, and it generates less than 1% of the revenue for Connecticut, and we've lost $6 billion of taxable income just to the state of Florida. So we're losing more money on that tax than what it brings in. We can get rid of that day one. We have a plan to gradually phase out the state income tax over 8 years. It'll be tied to revenue triggers. It'll be tied to cost cuts. But Malloy, our current governor Malloy, has done the opposite. Despite the 2 largest tax increases in the history of the state, our tax revenues are down. So it's only common sense, Brian, that we have to do the reverse and get this economy moving. My challenger, Ned Lamont, wants to continue more of the same, and we're going to.
Well, as you know, in states, you got to balance your budget every year. Now, Bob, I just don't know how you get rid of state tax and get rid of tolls.
Well, we don't have tolls right now, so that revenue is not there. I am stepping into a $4 billion budget deficit. We got to look at the cost line hard. I was the chief financial officer of UBS Investment Bank. I instituted zero-based budgeting. We zeroed out everybody's budget, and we only added back in what they have to have. I took $1 billion of cost out. On a $40 billion annual budget, state of Connecticut, I got to be able to find 5 to 10%. Use some of that money to fund a tax cut. Use some of that money to invest in education, and get some sanity back into the economic policy of the state.
Bob Stefanowski is with us. Bob, what kind of help have you had? You mentioned you got Art Laffer, and that's a big help, and Larry Kudlow is a friend of yours. What kind of help have you had from the White House? Any?
Trump came out and tweeted an endorsement of me the day after the primary. I've never spoken to him. I've never met him, but having the endorsement of the president is a good thing. The Republican Governor Association, this is one of their top target states to go Republican. They've bought a bunch of ad time. They've been supportive. This state race is getting a lot of national attention because it's one of the few Democratic states that we have a real shot to go Republican, both at the governor.
Yeah, Bob's dropping out there. But Bob, listen to his background. He's a former CEO of GE Corporate Finance. Prior to that, he was CFO at UBS. You heard him mention that. And most recently, he left his job as CEO of DFC Global. So he's all about making money, earning money, and he also is also about business. Bob, you still with us? All right. He's gone. So if a businessman can be successful in the White House, can he be successful in balancing a budget and bringing some fiscal sense to the state of Connecticut? I will say this. The most people I know, now my son works in Connecticut, most people I know are extremely unhappy with what's going on there, and nobody blames Republicans because they've had absolutely no power. Linda McMahon, who was extremely successful as an executive in Connecticut, she couldn't break through but got close. Bob, I was just talking about the fact that you were the CEO of DFC Global last. UBS, you mentioned before that, and one more CEO of GE Corporate Finance. Why would you want to put all that knowledge into trying to into getting into politics?
It's It's a great question. I'm a Connecticut guy. I grew up in New Haven. I went to the public schools, went to a local college, Fairfield University. The state's been great to me, and I've been watching it being ruined by horrible economic policy. I've got 3 daughters, 24, 19, and 16. I don't want to have to get on a plane to see my grandkids in Florida someday. It is all about the economy here. I've been restructuring businesses for 30 years. The state of Connecticut is a $40 billion budget that needs to be restructured, so it's right in my wheelhouse, and I just felt it was time to make a change. Fortunately for me, there were 25 gubernatorial candidates a year ago. Now it's down to 2, so the message is resonating. People are ready for a change. They don't want a politician. 85% of the people we poll do not want a politician. You look at what Charlie Baker's been able to do up in Massachusetts. It's a great profile to be running for governor right now.
Well, I mean, you got one, Senator Ron Johnson's one of the most effective senators from business, and of course, the President of the United States. Much to the chagrin of many politicians, is trying to run the government like a business where he's actually making a lot of decisions himself. Bob Stefanowski, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'd love to come on again before the election.
You got it. As he face-offs against Ed Lamont and tries to pull off the upset for the Republicans in Connecticut.